and then the other part reflects upon it, mirrors it back. Now, of course, this can be done in a number of ways. It can be done totally silently. It can be done on paper and writing, or as I'm going to demonstrate it here, can be done out loud verbally. I suggest, for starters, that you try it out loud or try it in the journal. The journal, for some, is the easiest, but that's the slowest. Talking it is the next most efficient. Thinking it next, although I find that people can't use the thinking form of it until they've got some experience with it, because it's, in the thinking of it, it's a little bit more slippery and it gets away from you. Whereas I think a good compromise is to do it in a speaking sort of way. So I'm going to start that now. So here, if I sit over like this, for example, this is me thinking, experiencing, and then coming over here, I try to reflect on what it was that I just thought or heard. And basically, you're going back and forth, back and forth. It's not really that important that you move, but that can help you keep track of where you're at. So you just start. You just start. You have your session. You're going to sit down and you just begin to explore. Where am I? What's happening for me? So if I start, I'd say, you know, here I am sitting in my yard. The flowers are out. The camera's going. I want to share something with other people that's really important to me, you know. And at the same time, I'm aware this is all being recorded. I could be screwing up, slipping up. Is this going to be as good as I want? And so on. So I can also feel that there's a certain amount riding on this. Okay, so that's my first statement. That's where I'm at right now. So now this other part has to listen, you know, and reflect back. And it offers up what it's hearing. It's like, I hear you talking, and what I'm hearing you say is, right now you're involved in some kind of a process of sharing something that's important to you. And you care about it, and you're aware about your caring and how much it matters to you. And you're also aware that there's a camera going, that there's something riding on this, that you could make a mistake. So you're feeling a certain amount of pressure. Like you feel both a pressure because of your caring and a pressure because of the possibilities for errors or mistakes. Yeah, that's it. I do feel a certain amount of, wow, you know, I'm getting to talk about something that really matters to me, and at the same time, you know, there's so many ways in which I could do it wrong. It's not just what would they think of me, but also, you know, I think about the technical aspects of doing this, of putting it together. So my mind is going, you know, at the same time as I'm trying to be in touch with what it is I care about. My mind is going and saying, is the camera angle right? Is the lighting good? And stuff like that. So you sound like you're saying you've got a number of things happening for you simultaneously. Your attention is being taken in different ways. Not only are you trying to focus on the content of what you want to share, but you're having to think at the same time about how is it coming across the technical angles too. So you find yourself sort of going in and out between a couple of modes of consciousness. Now there is a very quick, very basic kind of demonstration. You start out, and one part of you is simply trying to discover where are you at, what's going on for you, what is your reality. And talking about the unexamined life, the unreflective life, we're looking in the mirror, you know, and saying, what's happening for me? What am I feeling? What's going on for me? And then as you make these statements, then another part is reflecting. It's talking back. Now I would say that what we're trying to do here is, A, you need to be able to listen so that you know what's been said. If necessary, you could repeat it back word for word because you've been that attentive. So paying attention is important. At the same time as you're listening to what is being said, you're also aware of how it's said, the tone of voice, the way it's being spoken, that gives you some sense about how the person is feeling about what they're saying. What are the feelings in what they're putting in there? That maybe in this what we just witnessed, I was describing functioning on a couple of different levels, and then the listener is hearing in that some feeling of tension, some feeling of being in a couple of different places or having to juggle or something like that. That wasn't said explicitly, but it was implicit there. So there's some quality then, as you're looking in the mirror, providing this mirroring function of bringing out the feelings. The person is having the feelings, but it's not necessarily being aware of the feelings consciously. So this verbal feedback is helping become aware. Okay, in just a moment, you'll get to see a couple of examples of self-reflective listening in action. But first, I'd like to say just briefly a little bit about the purpose of this particular exercise, this meditation in self-awareness, and give you some understanding about the dynamics involved. First of all, of course, it is a meditation in self-awareness and self-reflection. Not only is it good for you to come to understand how, in fact, you can be aware of yourself, but it'll also give you some appreciation for how, when you're listening to a client, how, in fact, they can have different qualities of self-awareness as they hear you share with them how you are hearing them. And finally, it's going to help you become aware that you have consciousness at many levels. And when you're working with a client, you can be listening to them, you can be talking to them, and at the same time you can be aware that you're having certain reactions, and you can very subtly reflect those reactions back to yourself to get some greater clarity. Right now we're working with the self-reflection in a verbal way, and then perhaps later you can learn how to do it in a non-verbal manner. In our condition of spiritual isolation, we are like someone divided from themselves. We think of ourselves as separate from the world out there. We have to come to have a healing to experience ourselves as one with the world. That healing usually comes about through some kind of an affliction, what we call a disease. A dis-ease about oneself, no longer flowing in a paradise of spontaneity and joy. And if we take that disease as a mirror and we look into it, we can find our disowned self. Now let me show you the symbolic dynamics here of the mother, father, and child archetypes that together make up the components of the new life, the new consciousness that's often identified with the birth scene at Christmas. There are the three players. One is the child, who is the innocent speaker, who is trying to simply express what it's feeling. I'm feeling kind of tired, or I don't know exactly what's going on with me, and so on. There it speaks in innocence. Then there's the mother. That is the reflective part that looks into the child's eyes and says, I'm here for you. I care what you've just said. I care about what you're experiencing here. Let me give back to you what I hear you saying so that I can give you this nourishment of self-awareness. And the child looks in the mother's face, and by the look on the mother's face, the child comes into a self-consciousness, a self-awareness. And the quality of that mirroring determines the quality of the child's self-awareness.